What the ideal is and how I would define success in terms of whether or not we've made it accessible enough is if what we show prospective students on our website matches what we do here on campus. So if our website is welcoming, if it's not putting up new barriers, if it's providing assistance, then I see that as reflecting what our Accessible Learning Center and our different staff do here at Laurier.
For overall usability testing, we conducted online and in-person usability sessions with prospective students, both domestic and international, as well as our partner that we worked with. They conducted online testing over the phone and through an online meeting. And then for accessibility testing, we collaborated with our Accessible Learning Center and our accessibility office. And so they brought in current students with disabilities, and we were able to sit in a room with them and ask them those task-based questions and watch them using their assistive technologies, the hardware and the software.
So in terms of schooling, I use Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is a voice recognition software. I also use Zoom Text that allows me to blow up anything that I'm looking at on the screen. I was approached specifically to see how someone with my types of limitations would navigate the website, and the coordinators of that were very patient, very understanding, and very receptive to things that I was struggling with that they perhaps hadn't thought of, like fast-moving photos and these kind of things. Text windows that were readable by Zoom Text, and text windows that were not readable by Zoom Text.
Students found it quite navigable. We gave them a series of tasks to do, and they went through the tasks. And generally, they were able to do those tasks quite well. There were a few issues that we identified. For example, one user who was using the screen enlargement software, Zoom Text, was finding that the photo scroll was a little bit too quick for them with Zoom Text. So when you enlarge it, things go a lot quicker because they're a lot bigger. So there was some talk about adjusting that.
One thing we found very interesting is, and again working on the accessibility side, is that we have a color palette for our visual identity. And when we were down to all our accessibility testing, some of our colors in our palette didn't quite meet accessibility standards. So it was an interesting process because we had to slightly tweak some of our digital colors to meet the standards.
There were a few elements that were difficult to access, and a few things that perhaps needed to have headers and things like that adjusted. Images, for the most part, were well labeled, but there were a few elements on the page that were not directly intuitive, so students didn't find them immediately, or they weren't labeled in the screen readers.
We did know that we still needed to implement the skip nav functionality, which allows the reader to jump specifically into the content so that they don't have to read through our mega menu for every page that they're on.
What's interesting about this website is that it's quite an innovative website. They used a lot of new techniques, I guess, and what happens is it's a bit of a cat and mouse game for the assistive technology. So the assistive technology is always sort of racing to catch up with what's out there. We identify sometimes deficiencies in the screen readers as well. So then we can go back to the vendors and say, you know, these are some things that you need to identify, because when you use these particular types of coding, the screen reader can't identify that yet because it's very new.
In general, not all websites are compatible with my software. So if something is not real text, for example, then Zoom Text will not read it, which makes it inaccessible to me. Also, if there are a lot of different text boxes and stuff to navigate, I sometimes don't always know where to put the cursor to get it to read what I want it to read. Those are concerns that I face on a lot of different websites, but this is the first time that I was able to articulate that and have it met by someone who had the power to change it.
We all learned a great deal about how our students with disabilities want to interact with our site and all of the challenges that they can face every day online. So it gave us a better awareness of what they need and what they want, and hopefully helps us plan for the future.
It was extremely rewarding because that was the first time that our site was being looked at by that target audience, and seeing that they were so positive about the site, that it was doing exactly what we were expecting it to do. It was great to see that they were following the user experience pathways that we had expected, and they loved the features that we thought they would love. So it helped validate that we were on the right track as we were ready to launch the new website.